So I don't know. Let's chat makes it seem a little. I thought about it. I'm saying it to myself. Let's chat. Let's talk. Let's talk about Metal Gear.
Let's talk. You're
Yeah.
going for the serious one now.
Let's talk about Metal Gear. It is serious. This isn't a joking, man.
This is very serious. Yes.
This is the most serious I've ever been. Yeah, just get it out of the way, I guess. Do we say hi?
Sure,
Hi.
like, hey guys.
Hey.
Hey viewers. Hey listeners.
Hey.
This is essentially a podcast, except done by idiots.
That's what a podcast is.
Oh. All the podcasts are ever done by idiots?
Pretty much. I don't know what kind of podcast you listen to, but I listen to ones that connect to me.
I don't listen to podcasts. So
Oh. Whoa.
So this is even more weird for me.
Learning stuff every day. Alright, hey. We're just doing like a thing. I wanted to talk about Metal Gear. So, well, there's something.
Yeah, so we're gonna do a 5-part series.
We're just gonna cover them all.
Just discuss each Metal Gear Solid game once a week. 1, 2, 3, 4, and Peace Walker, all the canon games.
Well, you saying Acid's not canon?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Okay, yeah, we're just gonna cover them, and we're gonna talk about them. We're gonna release hopefully a 30-minute video, not too much longer, because
30.
I don't want to go for hours, you know.
I don't know if it'll go on for 30 minutes.
I mean, that'll be the max. That'll be maximum power is 30 minutes.
And
we're just gonna talk about good and bad and just general feelings and how we think it like connects to all the stuff and all the cool stuff that's like, oh yeah, you remember this thing? Oh yeah, that happens later, and all sorts of dumb shit.
And this is, of course, build up for Metal Gear Solid 5.
That's coming.
The game we've all been waiting for.
That's coming.
It's coming.
When's that coming?
It's coming. September 1st. It's coming.
September 1st.
Yeah.
I'm excited. You excited?
I'm excited.
I'm excited. I can feel it.
Oh,
Yeah, alright, so we're in this one, we're just doing Metal Gear Solid 1. Classic. PS1.
I was gonna say the original, but
No, it's not the original.
It's
That's
not the
Metal Gear.
original.
We're not talking about those ones. They're too damn hard. I can't get through them. I got them with, like a little off topic here. I got them with 3 because you get the subsistence.
yeah.
Never played them. I tried them. I was like, you know what? I'm bad. Let's not touch this ever again.
I think I tried I tried launching the game, and I looked at the title screen thing, and then I closed it because it was too much. It was enough. I got the gist.
So good. It's so much info at once. Oh, I have to close this.
It's just I was done.
Anyways, to Metal Gear Solid 1. Anything you want to start off with? Anything like something that's like, oh yeah, this is what you have to start with.
It's what you have to start with.
Yeah.
Oh man, I don't even know. I don't know.
The intro, he coming in through the scuba suit, under the
Scuba
water,
suit.
and the sick camera angles and the weird like water filter they put over it, and you
I don't-
could, what?
Go ahead.
I mean, you come up and you're just like, I think you call Campbell right away, and then he's like, yeah, blah blah blah, and then you take the place by storm. You're Shadow Moses. You're looking at the big facility, and like the first area, and the music picks up, and you're just like watching the credits roll by. When I played that, it was nothing like it. It was insane.
I think my favorite part, I bet the little intro, the little underground warehouse there, is, as a kid, I could never remember the controls. Even now, half the time I forget, so I'd spend like half an hour just trying to figure out how to get by the pipe.
Yeah.
So
Trying to
that was
crawl
always
under the
good.
damn fucking pipe.
Yeah, I was a pretty stupid kid.
But like,
so.
this is more of a retrospective since we're looking back now. We're not really talking about how we felt then, because I don't fucking remember. That was so long ago. But like now, it does feel a bit clunky to go back. Like it is kind of weird.
Yeah, I have such a hard time playing 1, 2, and to an extent 3 because of the controls and stuff like that. Makes it really difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I like. That's the first thing I noticed going back to 1. I haven't played it in a couple years, and so I'm just like, man, this controls like a rock on a stick.
A rock on a stick.
It's like you can lay the stick down or you can pick the stick up, and that's about it.
Yeah. I don't know. It doesn't even feel like a stealth game anymore. Because it just... I don't know. I don't know how to explain it.
I would definitely argue that Metal Gear Solid 1 is less stealth. Like, there are parts later on where it's like, you gotta go guns blazing.
Yeah.
So I would say that later on it gets, like, the stealth becomes more refined and more of, like, a key part. And in the beginning, it's not so much what...
Well, that's actually a big thing I want to talk about with every Metal Gear Solid game is... a lot of people just refer to it as a stealth game, but it really is stealth action.
Yeah, it says on the box.
I'd say more often than not, maybe not so much in the later games, but there's just so many action segments like forced upon you, and even in the stealth segments, it's sometimes just so much easier to just shoot enemies and run through it.
Yeah, like
especially if you have like silencers and stuff.
Yeah. Like, I think there are silencers. You can get one for the SOCOM.
Yeah.
But it doesn't, like, as far as I know, it doesn't make any real difference. I mean, you could take a guy out stealthily, I guess, but, yeah, I don't know. And, I guess we'll just get the cons out of the way real quick and then get to the good stuff. But, like, I thought that, like, it's an old game, and one of the first that I remember that actually had VO, like, a full VO for every character. And it was nuts, but like going back now, a lot of the lines can like fall short.
You can definitely tell they're not. Yeah. They're kind of amateurs at the delivery and
just
stuff.
Starting out, really. But it was like at the forefront at the time. It was like, wow, this is insane. Everyone's talking.
Yeah, just like all this voice acting, this full 3D environment, these fucking cinematics. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah, it was insane. But now it's like. Going back, I still think it's a great game. I love Metal Gear Solid 1, but it is old, so
it's like it holds up as something you should play if you want to get into Metal Gear Solid, but it's not like you're gonna play this game and be like, wow, what an amazing game. You might be like, wow, that's a great story, that was a good experience, but the gameplay itself is not. For me, it's not like when I was playing through it before this, it was just kind of something I wanted to get through to get to the more of the story videos and all that.
I would say that like playing it is when you finish it, you're not going to be like, wow, that was I mean, you might be, that was a great game or something, but you'll say that was like a great piece of history. You could tell that a lot of things took what Metal Gear started.
Yeah.
I mean, I love it. I love Metal Gear to death. It's, like, definitely one of my favorites. Obviously, I would never think about doing this for any other fucking game, because who cares, but I love Metal Gear. So yeah, I guess we'll start getting to some actual good stuff, like the things that we really like about this game.
Good stuff.
The first thing I gotta say is the music is incredible.
I always like the Metal Gear Solid soundtracks, but it's never the kind of soundtrack where I'm like, where it's like a huge focus for me. Like when I played Bastion or Transistor.
Yeah, okay.
Those soundtracks were like right there. They were so amazing. I could have been happy with the soundtracks and not the game. But Metal Gear Solid, like I like the soundtracks, but they make really good background music for the things you're trying to accomplish in the game.
Yeah, it is definitely what you're saying is like Transistor and Bastion and stuff. Like the music in there is basically an album of music playing.
Yeah, it's its own standalone thing, and it works perfectly with the game. Yeah. But it doesn't need the game at all.
And Metal Gear the soundtrack it's just that. It's a soundtrack to be played behind something else to complement it.
Yeah, like if I just heard the Metal Gear Solid soundtrack without ever playing the game, I'd be like, all right, this is interesting, and I get the vibe, but it's not something I'm going to be listening to all day or something like that. But with the game, it just fits perfectly.
Yeah, I agree with that. But like, coming in and you got the, I don't know what kind of music to call it, where the ladies singing like the high tones and long notes and stuff like that.
Oh, the gothic opera.
Yeah. That
stuff in the beginning.
That stuff always got me. I don't know if it comes up later in the series. I don't think it does, but coming into Shadow Moses and that music kind of picks up, and I thought it was really impactful going through the game again.
Yeah, the music always sets the tone for where you are, what you're doing, like the urgency of the situation or the sadness of it and all that.
Yeah, and then the main theme, obviously awesome. They still use it to today, like in all the games. As far as I don't know if they used it in Ground Zeroes, but they've used it in 2, 3, 4, and Peace Walker.
Which one? The one by Harry Gregson? Is that his name? Well, they've had to modify it, but
yeah, it's changed throughout them, but it's still like got that the bass theme going. Like I think at 2 it's a little more electric and stuff like that, but it's I think it's still great. Yeah, just like going back to voice acting and stuff, you get to the codec, and a lot of people don't like the codec, but I thought it was really good. It's like some nice downtime, you know?
Yeah.
Just like hearing the people talk, and you get more context, lots of context going on in the game. It's like people breaking the fourth wall too. Like they'll say you gotta press the action button, and it's the triangle button or whatever. And it's like, okay, you're doing it, I guess.
Playing this again, I know there was a lot of complaint with Metal Gear Solid 2 and the unskippable codec calls. There's so many in the beginning. In this, I feel like maybe there's not as many, but it's kind of like they have so many codec calls interrupting you throughout the game that it did get to a point where it was like, let's, I want to dial it back, but if I was just playing this for fun, just running through, then I'd skip them, but of course I couldn't, so it, I don't know. It kind of felt weird to me.
Yeah,
I like the idea of the codec calls and all that, but I wish they were a little more, like, of course in future games, they're more on the go with Ground Zeroes and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially in Ground Zeroes. I don't remember Peace Walker's codec calls exactly. I mean, I guess we'll get to that when we play through it, but, in 1, when there's definitely a lot of codec calls, so I guess you could go through the game and cut some of them out, but I think there's like a lot of good and short exposition that happens, like people talking about things, and you learn things. And another thing that is important to learn from the codec calls is that like people are lying to you. Like not everyone's telling you the truth.
Yeah.
And
like this whole story going on outside of the game story itself.
Like throughout the game, everyone's talking about, oh, the government sent you here, and you're just a pawn of the government, and you're like, am I? And then people are like, you're killing people. Like when you meet another cool character who dies a little quickly for my taste is the DARPA chief. Spoilers, is also Decoy Octopus.
Wow.
But when you meet him, and then he has the heart attack or whatever, and then you meet President Baker later, and he has the heart attack. Is he president? I can't remember. I think he's president of some company or something.
Of Arms Tech.
Yeah, and they have the heart attacks, and then you're just like, what is happening here? And people are like, well, they think that you're killing them, right?
Yeah.
And you're clearly not intentionally. But, like, then you get introduced to Fox Die, and you're like, what is this? You get injected with it at the beginning of the game. I don't remember if that was in what did they release afterwards? Like a special edition or something like that?
Special edition.
Yeah, and it came with like extra opening stuff.
I don't know. I
Like-
know nothing about that.
Like it's Snake in a cell or something, and then Naomi's giving him his injections, and then
Oh, that's on the regular one.
Is it?
You just got to go to the options and whatnot.
all right, yeah, but there's like that stuff, and you just get injected with it, and she's like, hey, this is to help you with your mission and stuff, and it does help you later, but little did you know she's injecting you with fox dye, and it's killing people.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just thought it was really cool that like, even though Meryl's there, and even though another spoiler, Gray Fox is there, you're kind of your buddy, but Meryl's there, definitely your buddy. It definitely feels very alone, like you don't know who you can trust and don't know really where you are or where you're going.
Yeah. Because even though you have like Otacon and Meryl there, they're never actually really with you.
Yeah.
Except for the one little piece where Meryl is, and that ends pretty quickly. You're definitely on your own mission.
Yeah. If you feel like secluded, you're in the middle. I think you're in the middle of Alaska, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're like out in the middle of this snowstorm. You go into the beginning. Another great part in the beginning is where you get like a sense of scale at the beginning of the game when you see the huge warehouse, and then you go up in another great scene where Snake rips off all his clothes and looks up on the elevator, and then you get the introduction to Snake as a character, and you're like, okay, maybe this looking now is like, okay, that's not such a great introduction. It's just like a blank face with a little line on it. And,
Just little shadows for eyes.
yeah, but the iconic headband and the stealth suit.
And at the time, this was like, whoa,
Yeah,
look
it was
at this guy. Look
insane.
at these graphics.
Look at
It's
these
crazy.
graphics. But, and then you get up the elevator and you do the codec call, and they tell you how to do stuff, and they show you how to use your scope and stuff. But then you look around and it's like, you get to see Liquid, and you're like, oh, okay, this guy's got to be the big chief. And then you see the helicopter, and you see it take off, and it's just like, this game is huge. Like, now it doesn't seem like that crazy, but you could definitely, it definitely brings me back to when I was a kid and playing this, and I'm like, man, this game was insane.
Yeah. At the time, it was really big, but going back and playing it now, I really realized how short and small this game is.
Yeah, but on top of that, though, I like how focused it seems. It feels like they knew exactly what they wanted to do and just did it.
Yeah, there was no downtime. You just kept going from point to point, doing what you needed to do.
Yeah.
Which has its goods and bads to it.
Yeah, the one thing I really liked, like, we talked about this before we started, we started playing a bit, and then we talked, and then I said, it's like the first hour is nuts. It's like, it's one of the most craziest things I've seen in a game like I can remember. Is like you see almost all the people, all the big cheeses of this game in the first hour. You see them all.
Yeah.
Like when you find Meryl, and she's the amateur soldier in the genome outfit or whatever, and she runs off, and you look at her booty, and then you see her in the elevator, and then you see Psycho Mantis appear, and then, like I said earlier, at the helicopter you see Liquid, and you get introduced to them talking in like a room, and it's Ocelot, Liquid, and Sniper Wolf.
Yeah.
And then you have the boss fight with Ocelot, and which is, I don't think is a great boss fight, but it was definitely, it felt high stakes. Like a lot was going on there.
I liked the boss fight. It was fun, but it definitely felt like the first stage of this boss, and you'd fight him again later or something. But then never. there was no big battle with this guy.
Yeah, he just kind of whimpers off. I mean, you have the torture scene with him, which is another cool scene to me. Very memorable. I remember the horror stories of when I was a kid and doing that, and my thumb would kill. I would try and convince my dad to get me a third-party controller or whatever to have the turbo button. But it's kind of easy now.
Yeah.
Did you want to talk about Do you want to talk about boss fights? Getting to bosses?
Boss fights. Well, the biggest thing for me, and it's another reason why going back and playing it, the game just feels smaller, is I wish there was more build up to bosses.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, as we were saying, it is a little more focused. Like, it's a smaller game now. Back then, like, lots of games were super short, though, unless you're playing an RPG. And
I mean, even it's not necessarily small now. I think this took me about 8 hours to play through, watching all the cutscenes and stuff. But then again, you know, that's a big part, that a lot of this game is just cutscenes.
yeah. Well, lots of Metal Gear games are just cutscenes and codec calls and stuff like that.
But they definitely get twice in length
Yeah.
in the later ones. But like for me, like this was supposed to be some big elite squad of just some of the best soldiers.
Well,
and
by this time, Snake is also a legendary soldier. As many people bring up, like, you're talking to Mei Ling, and she's like, oh, I'm being hit down by the legendary Solid Snake.
but it wasn't so much like, I'm not talking about like in a versus sense, but just building up through the game to them. You kind of find out about them, and then not too much later, you fight them, and then it's over, and then they go on for a while talking about themselves. When I would have liked to know more about the character, what they've done, all this stuff about their legacy before actually fighting them.
Like, yeah, I guess that, like, the thing about playing through it now is that there are obviously points between fighting the bosses, but I noticed this as a difference from the other ones is Metal Gear Solid 1 is very boss heavy. There are lots of bosses, and you're like almost constantly running into a boss to fight.
Yeah, like the time between bosses is essentially just to give you items.
Yeah. So like
and that's it.
we're talking about the playtime. It's what I would say 6 to 8 hours to play through, depending on how fast you go and if you want to look at stuff and if you care about codec calls and stuff like that. But like when you're at the beginning and you enter the building and then it's like, okay, I'm here, and then you walk around a bit and then you who's the first boss?
Ocelot.
Okay, yeah, so you find Ocelot, and then you fight him, and you're like, okay, I'm shooting Ocelot, which is, Ocelot rules. He's like the best character in Metal Gear. And he's like, you're pretty good. And you're like, okay, see you later, chump. And then you run a little bit, and then you basically run into Gray Fox. And then you have a boss fight with him. And
Well, before that, you have to fight the tank.
oh yeah, but, I don't know. I is that really a boss? I guess it is, but
I mean,
you just throw a couple grenades at some genome soldiers, and it's like,
I
okay.
consider anything
With a health bar.
with a health bar, or I guess I could say that's unskippable kind of thing.
Like, you can't run by them.
Yeah.
You're locked in a room.
Yeah, kind of something like that. Not necessarily like action segments where it's like you're just shooting a bunch of normal soldiers over and over, or like the driving parts or something. But if there's like you versus a single or a defined enemy
Okay.
with a health bar, then yeah.
Okay, then
'Cause
yeah,
it-
there's even less downtime then, because then you're running right into the tank when you go outside, right?
Yeah.
And then you go into the other building and you look around a little bit, and you come in. Like, I think there's very few soldiers that you come across in this game, unless you're talking about later when you're running up the tower,
Yeah.
like the endless soldiers that come at you. But
Most rooms, like big open areas, just have like 2 or maybe 3 soldiers.
A couple
and
soldiers
some
walking around.
cameras. Nothing much.
yeah, I would say there's more cameras than soldiers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. There was lots of cool stuff, like it's stuff that you see while playing through the game, like really cool stuff for bosses, and then really kind of innovative stuff at the time. I would imagine, like the FPS mode, like going into FPS mode now is like, all right, but then it was like you're playing a third-person game, and then you can look through your character's eyes. That's insane.
Yeah.
And see the world from their view, and you can have like the scope, and you can like view in the distance and look at stuff, and then there's also the thermal goggles, and yeah, it was really cool. Like, you can find lots of stuff in the game that was like definitely very game changing, I'd say.
I wanted to talk about this. The ninja scene, like when the hallway before you go to Otacon and you fight Gray Fox.
Deep Throat.
I've never felt like there is another point in a Metal Gear Solid game that was like that. That was just, it just felt like, of course not now, but
You talking about the
playing
bloody
it as a
hallway?
kid. Yeah.
Oh, that was brutal.
Like, I've never felt like there was another moment that I first experienced in Metal Gear Solid like that one, where I was like, holy shit, what the fuck did I just walk into?
Exactly. Like when you see that and you're like, I'm dead. He's gonna demolish me.
And like the guy comes out and he's like, it's a ghost, and you know, when you first play that, I'm like, is it really a ghost? What the hell happened?
Yeah, and then you see the him holding the dude up with his sword in the air, and you're like, oh no.
Yeah, and you're like, okay,
yeah,
I don't want to have to fight this guy.
Very, very cool boss fight.
And it just, to me, it sucks because I've never gotten that feeling from any other point in a Metal Gear Solid game that I can at least remember, where I was just like, holy shit, that's really, really graphic and fucked up.
Really brutal. I mean, now it'd be like, I mean, I don't know about 5, because Kojima's hyping it up to be like fucking child selling simulator, but
selling simulator.
He's like, there's gonna be some brutal stuff in this game. Like you see it in the trailers, there's like the child soldiers and stuff, and I imagine there's gonna be some very controversial things happening in that. But like, yeah, you're right. As far as I can remember, there's nothing quite like that. When you walk in there and you just see the bloody hallway with bodies everywhere, and
yeah, every game's I won't say it's got a happy tone, but it's got kind of a non-violent tone, where it's like you shoot a guy and his body disappears and he drops an item and it's like, woo!
Yeah.
But in that point you see all these cut up guys.
It's like bonus points that come out of
You see blood splatter on the wall, dents from their bodies. They're just cut open.
I mean,
and it's crazy.
Even in this one, like I'm assuming that it's just system limitations at the time, but like, and then the jump to 2 and 3 and 4 and stuff like that is more, like we were saying, it's more stealth than this game.
Yeah, it slowly gets more and more to have these
non-lethal takedowns, whereas everything in this game is a lethal takedown. There's no non-lethal playthroughs.
I mean, you could do non-lethal, but that essentially means having no interaction with guards.
You'd have to kill the bosses. So.
Well, yeah, but I don't think it counts those as kills.
I mean, in 3, you can non-lethal everything.
Yeah.
All the bosses, you could just shoot them with
stamina
tranks.
kills. Yeah.
But in this one, it definitely feels like a more brutal game. Like Snake is a killer, like everyone's calling him.
Which I actually like, in a way. I like having the option to do stealth, but I feel like when that option was introduced, it became the main focus to do everything as non-lethal as you can. And if you do something lethally, it kind of, you feel bad about yourself.
Because the soldiers are all goofy.
That's true.
They're all like itching their heads.
But it's like, I like the challenge of trying to do everything non-lethal, but I also want to feel like the character I'm playing, and I want to kind of just kill people relentlessly to accomplish the mission.
Yeah. I was going back to bosses. I was just reading, and I'm like, do bosses taunt you in all the games? Because I noticed that explicitly in this one, is that like especially when you meet Ocelot and he's like, I see if you live up to the boss or whatever, and then it's just you're just running around the battlefield fighting these bosses, and they're like taunting you. They're saying things to you, except for when you're fighting a sniper wolf, of course.
Well, they all got their kind of lines. I know Ocelot
loves to run a smith.
Yeah, and then Raven's just kind of hunting you down, like, oh, where are you?
I thought the Raven fight was really boring, in my opinion. Like, just walking around and trying to avoid him, and then you shoot him in the back and run away, and it's like, okay.
Yeah, it was it's kind of like There's a very, I don't know how to explain this. There's a big difference between the boss fights of whether they're boring or fun or you don't like them or you do like them. Like the Raven one was boring, but I didn't mind it. But I hated fighting Sniper Wolf every time. And not necessarily because of the concept of the fight, but because of the sniper rifle itself.
Oh
I
yeah,
hate using it.
you gotta
It's
use the
so
diazepam
terrible.
or whatever.
Yeah, and like you gotta lay down and aim and ugh.
Are you talking about the one where you're in the field or the one where you're fighting over Meryl?
Both of them. I hate both of them so much.
Yeah,
It's just
I don't know. I think
Ugh.
it's more of just system limitations really. Like it was like not the shaking because I hated the fucking shaking of your scope, but like it's kind of hard to tell the difference of what's like happening, and hard to be like split second. Okay, I'm shooting her now, especially because of the screen shake, which is really bothersome. But yeah,
yeah, every time like I had her even near my crosshair and was good to shoot, I just spam the shit out of bullets because
yeah.
trying
Just
to
shoot your whole
move,
clip.
like yeah, trying to aim with a controller is hard enough for me, but I didn't enable analog at all, so I was using the D-pad.
Oh no!
And so trying to get it like right on, I just hit that as fast as I can and
oh man.
hope I hope I get a shot. And it's so frustrating if she shoots you first and your camera just swings away and there's no way you're getting a shot again, so you just got to get up and run. Ugh.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think I don't. Yeah, the concept of the fight is good. The execution not so good.
Yeah.
But I think the concept and the execution of the Vulcan Raven, the minigun fight is very weak. I don't like it.
Yeah, it's really simple.
I mean, the Ocelot
But-
fight is simple too, but then you got like the guy strapped in the middle of the room with C4 strapped all over him, and you're running around, and he's like reloading and calling you the fucking loser or whatever.
Yeah, he could like accidentally kill Baker with shooting
Yep.
and stuff. And
And the
with
bullets
Raven,
ricochet off the walls. It's nuts.
with Raven, there was no. It was more like, at first, if you want to do it like I guess the easy way, it's for like the first 3/4 of his health, it's just Claymore mines, dropping them where he goes in a circle
Yep.
around one of the boxes, and then after it's just Nikita's. That's the one, right? That's the remote controlled one.
Yes.
Yeah, you just use that, shoot him with it, and hope he doesn't blow it up before it hits him. And it's all really kind of repetitive.
Yeah. There's like a couple other things I wanted to like cover is I didn't feel like you really had to care about where you were. Like unless you're talking about the tank area or the like the part where you come up from the wolves and then Meryl gets shot or whatever. And like you don't really have to pay attention on where you are. The environment doesn't really matter. In this one, it's just like you're just kind of rushing through everywhere, like we talked about the brisk pace of the game compared to the other ones.
Yeah.
It just feels like you're just running through. Like it does feel kind of high stakes. Like the urgency is there. It's like, oh well, there's nukes. We gotta stop the nukes, and the Metal Gear, they're gonna fire it at any time. They got all the codes and stuff. But yeah, I don't feel like you really have to care about your environment as much as the other ones.
Yeah. I can see that.
Especially with the like we're talking about the limited amount of soldiers that are in the area. Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know what I was gonna say.
Oh, okay. But, yeah, like did you mind the keycard system? I actually really liked it.
I really hated it.
Oh man.
I love Metroidvania games and like backtracking for stuff, but in this game, it just felt so pointless.
I
like
liked
every
the
cutscene.
epiphany moments where you're like, oh yeah, like the big key one, obviously going back to Meryl and Sniper Wolf is like when she's shot and you're like, oh no, I need a sniper, and you're like, oh yeah, I got this key card now, and you can go back here, look at this place, and
See, I never got those though. I was never like, oh yeah, I could go get this item. It was just kind of like there are only really 3 parts I can remember where you go back for something and it kind of matters, and that's if you miss the thermal goggles before you fight Ocelot.
Yeah, okay.
You can go back and get those. The sniper rifle and the
thermal
body
goggles
armor.
rule. You need those. Like, I mean, you don't need them, but like, I think they're better than the mine detector because you can see all the claymores.
Absolutely, but a big thing for me was since I played through the first hour and a half and then I had to redo it. First time I got the thermal goggles right away, and they can be super important for the lasers you encounter around the beginning of the game, and then because cigarettes are just not as good to use, so I really liked it for that. But then my second time I didn't pick them up, I forgot about them, and then I had to wait until I got the level 4 keycard or whatever, and then after that I kind of felt like they didn't matter as much, they weren't as important.
Yeah, definitely during, you're talking about like later, right?
Yeah, later on in the game, they you don't need them so much.
Yeah. You like breezed over it real quick, and I was like, I wanted to talk about, like, just briefly, the cigarettes. Is like you can use them to see the lasers and stuff. I thought that was nuts. I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, it's certainly a cool feature to put in the game.
What's your favorite? What's your favorite boss fight out of them all?
I don't know.
Do we want to cover the end first? Do we want to talk about maybe build up your hype for Rex and stuff like that?
I don't honestly think I had a favorite boss fight in this game.
Well, you have to have a favorite. Which one did you enjoy the most?
It's just it just feels like such a simple game when you look at it. Every boss fight just feels so basic, so I don't really know.
Psycho Mantis. We didn't even cover Psycho Mantis. Doesn't really need to be talked about. It's just a cool fight.
It's hard for me to say. I guess the biggest reason for that is because I knew how to beat every boss.
Yeah. Like, the revelation of Psycho Mantis is when, like, you gotta put the controller in the other port, and you're like, oh my god!
Yeah, and when you first experience that, you're gonna be like, that's crazy, who would think of that? But for me, it was like, once I started, I just switch controllers.
You did it, like,
and did it
10 years ago, so...
And then it's like... you might think, well, fighting Rex, like, oh my god, this is so hard. How do I
just like the scale of Rex, because Rex is huge.
Yeah. I did something really stupid despite already knowing how to beat him.
Oh, Christ.
Is for like the first... I think I might have died during the fight, and then for like half his health bar again, I just wasn't using chaff grenades.
Why?
I don't know. I was like, how do I dodge these missiles? And I knew it, but it wasn't coming to my mind. Like, I couldn't think it up.
I was watching, because I said before that my game doesn't finish, like the disc is busted somewhere, and like just the end of the game, I can't fight Rex. So I had to watch someone else do it. He did the exact same thing. He was like, he kept dying, and I was like, why do you keep dying? You just throw the fucking chaff grenades.
Yeah, it's like, I guess he probably did what I did, and I don't call very often for information or anything. Okay. So, and like, it's same with the tank. If you don't call and figure it out, then you won't really know. But I do, and I just... I can't explain it. It didn't come to my mind. And even on the tank right away, I just threw out chaff grenades, ran up to him. But for Metal Gear, I was like,
this isn't a tank, this is a machine.
It's completely different. It won't work.
Oh, it's great. Yeah, I don't like my favorite boss. Like, I think just the most like, I don't know what the word is for it. Like the special one is obviously Psycho Mantis, so...
Yeah, it feels the most unique.
Yeah, like, I don't think it's my favorite. I love Ocelot, but that's from, like, love of the other games and how much it's built up.
Yeah.
So, just seeing him again is like, oh man, be still my beating heart. But, like, So I think there's some bias there, but Psycho Mantis is definitely the most innovative boss in the game.
I get the Ocelot thing, because for me, I want to say fist fighting with Liquid
Oh,
on top
yeah.
of Metal Gear.
The end, and he's like,
But that,
"Can I have the smoke?"
but it's not because of that fight. It's because of Metal Gear Solid 4.
Yeah, at the
And
end.
in that, the fighting is just so good. It just feels so right. But in 1, it's not so good.
Yeah, it doesn't, like, at the end of 1, like, maybe I felt different when I played it all those years ago, but, like, now it just, like, the game's so over so quickly. It doesn't feel like there was a huge build-up to, like, oh, man, me and Liquid have to fight, right?
Yeah.
The only thing that made me feel like that is Gray Fox. Like, Gray Fox is, like, a carrying theme throughout the game. It's like a long-lost friend who you didn't want to fight. And, like, you knew that. Like, we've known that going in. Like, Gray Fox is actually your buddy, and he trained you. So, seeing him again, and then him saving you at the end, and he's like, I'm dying. He's getting crushed by Rex, and it's like, no, like,
Oh god.
there's the theories going around that he's in 5. Hopefully, please be in 5. I need to see Gray Fox again. But like that's the only real reason that, aside from stopping him from launching the nukes, that made me feel like I needed to fight Liquid. But like, you're talking about the build up all the way through the series to 4 and how it felt so right, and it's like, it felt right to fight him at the end of 4. Like Revolver Ocelot, or Liquid Ocelot, I guess they call him.
Yeah. There was... It reminded me... you just reminded me of it when you were talking about Gray Fox getting crushed. Is the part where he's telling you to shoot Liquid because he's finally
Lucid.
opened up Rex. And just every time at that part, I just aim and I keep shooting, and Snake's just like, no, I can't do it. I'm just like, come the fuck on, just shoot him.
Just shoot.
Get it over with. Kill them both. It's gotta be done.
Oh man, you got the mind of a soldier. Snake should take advice from you.
You really should.
Yeah, Liquid fight. I think Vulcan Rain was my most disappointing fight, because I think he was a really cool character. I really wanted to know more about him, and I don't hope, because it's probably not going to happen, but I wish that we had gotten more background, like you said, on a lot of the characters. Like, who are these people?
If I feel like if Metal Gear Solid was to be remade, these boss fights would be so much more interesting. Because when you look at later games, these bosses have all these really unique things about them, and like, or they just interact with your character and the environment so much more. I feel like if they went back and did it, it wouldn't just be a fight about walking around in big squares and trying to shoot each other. It'd be more actiony.
The non-lethal takedowns too. It's like, oh, imagine this game filled with soldiers, and then you could have like the non-lethal takedowns, like trank gun and stuff like that. I would love a non-lethal version of Metal Gear Solid 1.
Did they put the trank gun in Twin Snakes? I can't remember.
I don't remember, but a lot of people consider Twin Snakes to be like fucking blasphemy or something.
I don't know why.
I
get their points, but it's like, relax.
Yeah, it's kind of
just
goofy, and they change some things that like shouldn't have, I guess. But like, that's just what I want, right? Because the only reason this game feels dated is because, well, it is dated. It's like, how old? 1998. Like that.
Something like that.
Yeah. I would love a remake. That's what I was hoping that Kojima would do next, right? To make it full circle. Even remake Metal Gear 1 and Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake. Like, I never played those games because I suck at those games, so I can't get through them. I would have loved for him to remake those.
Yeah. I hope something like that happens, even if it's not necessary.
With
well,
Konami?
No. I was going to say maybe if it's not necessarily with Kojima, but I feel like at this point, if you're to remake the games, because of all the history that now comes with future and past games, you have to change so much about Metal Gear 1, 2, and Metal Gear Solid that you would need to have Kojima there.
The guy's got it all in his brain.
Together. Yeah. I'm sure he just has so much stuff that he wanted to do then but couldn't.
Yeah, absolutely.
And can now. Plus, story changes and
you could see it in like
all that
every
stuff.
game though. Like every game, you could see like, oh, you could totally see what he wanted to do in the previous one.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. It's probably not gonna happen, but I would have loved for him to remake his older games, especially with the Fox engine, which is incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've kind of thought about if I would prefer if they were to remake older games, if I prefer it done like Metal Gear Solid 4 or in the Fox engine. And I'd honestly say I'd probably prefer seeing it done like 4, just so it has more of a traditional vibe, because going from 4 to 5 is a big step
Absolutely.
in gameplay difference.
But you're like, oh, I want them to downgrade the Fox engine to make it work for Metal Gear Solid 1.
Well, I just know you couldn't play like if you were to play through Metal Gear Solid as you would play 5 or Ground Zeroes, it would just break everything. Okay. Absolutely. And I think playing it how you play 4, it would involve less changing to make it work.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess there's a lot of complicated stuff that we don't make games, so we don't know anything about anything. So, but I would love to see it done one day, and I would have. It would have been sweeter to see Kojima behind it, because he clearly loves all the games he's done. Like there's a couple other things I wanted to cover, like seeing Rex for the first time when you're like up on the catwalks walking around Rex, and it's like, this thing is awesome. I love Rex. I think it's way better than Ray in 2. It's just awesome. It's a huge machine.
Yeah, it's got that classic vibe about it.
Yeah, like you can get those models that are huge now of Rex, and they're like $300 or whatever, and I was like, I kind of really want that, because Rex is awesome. It's a giant mechanical machine with the railgun on its shoulder or whatever.
Yeah, I think when anybody thinks about a Metal Gear, they think Rex.
They think of that Metal Gear.
Like, I can barely... Like, if you think... Like, when I think about Ray, it's just a bunch of ovals.
Yeah, it absolutely is a bunch of ovals.
And Rex feels like this... Like, it feels like a T-Rex, like this big robotic dinosaur.
Oh, yeah. Like, it does. Like, it feels like a Tyrannosaurus Rex as a robot.
Yeah.
Like, it
definitely
like,
cool.
You can't even see its arms. They're so small. No, like, I think Rex is, like, maybe not the best boss fight, but definitely awesome. It's a definitely big piece of this game that I think rules. I love Rex.
Yeah.
Like, there's, another thing I really liked, speaking of big things, there's Big Boss that's talked about a lot in this game. And, like, as this was my first Metal Gear game, as I think it was for you too, you hear about Big Boss, and so he's like kind of this weird entity. You don't know if he's a boy, a guy, or a girl, but
well,
does anyone say he's a guy?
I'm pretty sure they refer to him as he occasionally, and then Snake, of course, says.
Yeah, maybe you're right.
He claimed to be my dad.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yep, I'm wrong. I fucked up. But no, I thought, like, hearing about this legendary soldier, or this huge entity, especially in Snake's life, like, he was my dad, and then I killed him, and it's like, man, who is this guy? And then you get more of that later in the other games, which is rad. I love Big Boss.
Yeah. Playing it as a kid, it was always like big. Like, I don't know who the hell Big Boss.
Yeah.
Like, who are they talking about? Because I never played the other games, and I think they did a good job of giving you just enough information about him that you didn't need. Like, there was no really big loose questions.
He was just a guy.
Figure out why Big Boss is so important to this game. You might not figure out all the things he's done or something like that, but you don't need to for playing through this game. And then going back and playing it when you know how amazing Big Boss is.
Yeah.
It's definitely it's one of those things. Like, Big Boss is my favorite character, so playing through older games and seeing references to him and stuff, I'm just like,
I know him. He's my friend. Me and him
really
shook
is.
hands once.
It's like, oh my god, they did it, they talked about
He
it.
saluted right at me before. Yeah.
I really love that.
I love hearing about Big Boss. I love, speaking of things that don't carry into other games, I feel like, with the exception of some parts of 2, I feel like Metal Gear Solid 1 has this huge aura of like mystery around it. You don't know what's really happening. You don't know why these people are here. You don't know why the government sent you. You don't know who Big Boss, or like, you don't know as a player who Big Boss is. You don't know what the Les Enfants Terribles project is. You don't, like, there's so much stuff you don't know.
Yeah.
And I don't think that carried well into the other games. And I really liked it about this game.
Yeah, since other games were longer, they did
More exposition on things,
I guess depending on how you want to look at it, they did better jobs at giving you the full picture of the information.
Yeah, definitely. They had more space to explain things like, oh, you don't know who this character is? Let me sit down and talk to you for 20 minutes and explain it. You don't know how the government works? Let me talk about that for a little while.
You could definitely look at if Metal Gear Solid 3 was made on the PS1, if it was the same length as Metal Gear Solid, the boss would be in the position of Big Boss.
No. The boss would be in the position of Liquid, where it's all building up to this in 3.
No, I mean, like, in sense of the information you get around this character.
Okay.
Like, you learn so much about the boss, but I feel like if Metal Gear Solid 3 was on the PS1, like, you'd understand she's your mentor, she betrayed you, but you wouldn't get all this history about being pregnant during World War I or World War II and all this stuff.
World War I, that's a little deep for the boss.
She's just really old.
She got when her baby died, she absorbed its energy and became younger. Oh, that's bad. I shouldn't say that. We didn't even talk about Otacon.
What's there to say about Otacon?
He's the otaku.
For me, he feels weird in this game.
He does definitely. Like, in the later ones, he definitely feels like a integral part of Snake's allies.
Yeah, it's not Solid Snake, it's Snake and Otacon. They're this great duo, and in this game,
I love when he brings you the shit in the salad, and he's like, "Oh, that dude's coming back. See ya." He just runs away, and you're like, "Wait, stop."
Yeah, he's still got the charm, and he feels a lot more sassy.
Yeah, like, he doesn't know who you are. He doesn't, like, get the fuck out of here. He just brought you some ketchup and shit.
Oh,
I also thought it was really weird. Like, he gives you the handkerchief from Sniper Wolf. He's like, "Here, I just brought you this handkerchief." And you're like, "What?" And he's like, "It smells like Sniper Wolf." And you're like, "Okay." This is like one of my Japanese animes.
Yeah.
I think Otacon is definitely, not forced, but he just doesn't feel like he belongs in what's happening.
Yeah. I guess I could say that about any sort of ally character in that. Like,
Meryl just gets shot through it the entire fucking game. Like, I like Meryl now as a playing through the other ones, like, especially 4, Meryl ruled, but like in Metal Gear Solid 1, she just keeps getting shot, and Snake's like, "Oh, I'll save you."
Yeah, the characters kind of just become reasons to do something else, and not really reasons to care about them as a player.
Yeah, Snake's supposed to be like having a turning point right now, where he's like, "Oh, I'm starting to like not be this legendary killer that only kills. I'm like caring about these people or whatever," and it's just like, this person just keeps getting shot. Shouldn't I just leave them? She said to leave her. Shouldn't I just leave her?
just kind of shoot her and move on. Just get it over with.
Imagine the Sniper Wolf fight. You come out and she's like, "Snake, just shoot me." She's using you as bait, or using me as bait, and he's just like, "All right." Shoots her, and then Colonel calls you, "Snake, what are you doing?"
She's kind of like, "What? I'm a soldier.
I'm a soldier.
I wasn't sent here to save her.
I'm here to stop Metal Gear."
That's good.
Ugh.
That I would love to see that.
Director's cut.
And I think another big, nah, I guess this isn't a big thing I hate or anything, but it bothers me that you never get real closure to what happens to, like, how Otacon and Snake get back together.
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of, all right, go off and live your life now. This is done. Me and Meryl are gonna go shack up, and then in 2, you guys are just this great duo. It comes out of nowhere, which is great, but I would have liked to know more about that in this game, not through figuring out stuff in 2.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I think the supporting characters are kind of weak in this one. Like, supporting allies of Snake. I think the supporting characters, as in villains and stuff, were really interesting. Like, Psycho Mantis had a cool background that you wanted to know more about, and Raven, and Sniper Wolf, and Liquid Snake, and Revolver Ocelot, and like, Gray Fox, and like, but I think his allies, not being Gray Fox, because he's kind of like an anti-hero, being Meryl and Otacon, were kind of weak in this one especially. I didn't feel a connection, like, as a player to them.
Yeah.
They just felt like they were tagged on. It's like, okay, I gotta save this person, I guess.
And then when Otacon starts crying about Sniper Wolf, it's just like,
okay,
all right, let's back up here.
Yeah, she like pet her dogs, I guess, and like he's talking about how he, like, in the cell again when he's talking to you, he's like, oh, I remember she's a nice person. She let me feed her dogs, and now he's in love with her. And it's like, okay,
it's like, holy, let's just
must have been some great
relax
dogs.
There. You're losing your mind here, buddy.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the games definitely grew stronger, like growing connections to people later on. Just maybe the writing in general grew stronger.
I think that one of the big things I love about Metal Gear Solid games is every game is a real sequel.
Yeah.
It's not a 1.5 or a 2.5. It's
like, this is just, oh, you want a little backstory? It's like, this matters.
Yeah, this is its own game. You can play through it by itself and enjoy it, but it still has all these connections to the other games. Mm-hmm. This one massive story, but each game just improves on the whole system every single time, which is great.
Yeah, I love all the upgrades and additions throughout the games, and I guess I don't know how well Metal Gear 1 and Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake did, but I know that my affection for the series definitely started with Metal Gear Solid 1, and
I think that's where most people's did.
Yeah, that's where, like, I'm really happy that this game exists, and it was a piece of history. It still is a piece of history. This is a great game. I love lots of things about it, and there's also, like we talked about, there's a couple things that are a little wrong with it. But it is. It's like, this is the past of, like, story-heavy games. This is where I think personally a lot of, like, shorter 10-hour approximately, like Last of Us and stuff, would that even exist without people actually introducing voice acting and stuff in the game, and character actors and stuff like that? Like,
it would definitely be interesting to see.
Like, what would history be like in video games if Metal Gear Solid never came to be? If Metal Gear 2 completely sucked and everyone hated it and never bought it, and it's like Metal Gear...
There's just no sequel.
Metal Gear dies after Metal Gear 2. Like, there's no 2, 3. Everyone's like, some of people's favorite game ever made is 3.
I couldn't... It's hard to imagine because I really like stealth games, and although this is stealth action,
yeah, especially
it's
the
still
first
my favorite stealth game. And I don't even know if I'd like stealth games.
What other stealth games are there coming out? Like, Metal Gear Solid 5's coming, and that's like, especially if you play Ground Zeroes and stuff, is like, the stealth has improved immensely over the previous entries, and it's like, what other stealth games are there really out there?
You get Splinter Cell.
Splinter Cell is like, as far as I know, it's a dead series. Like they released Blacklist and it sold terribly. I liked Blacklist. I played through it, and I thought it was cool, and I thought the stealth was really good, but it didn't sell well at all. So I'm assuming that series is gone, or they're rebooting it or something. But
it's really one of like, just kind of circle jerking here.
I am jerking.
It really is like, if I think about other stealth games, it's you play it for the stealth, and that's about it. I know a lot of people love the old Thief games.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I couldn't stand those, if I'm being honest. I really didn't like them, and I didn't enjoy Dishonored, which I know a lot of people love, but I just really didn't like that game.
There was, like, the thing about Dishonored for me, we're going into other games now, but whatever, it's our show, do it, fuck we want. Like, Dishonored, I really liked the world you were in Dishonored. I didn't really like the minute-to-minute gameplay. I didn't think it was for me. There's lots of people who loved it. That's great. But it just wasn't for me. Like, stealth, and like you're talking about Thief, I played the new Thief, which I thought was okay. Everyone gave a really hard time.
Yeah, it was alright for me.
Yeah, I was like, this is like a 6.5. This is not like a 2. Just because it's not your old fucking games that you played 15 years ago. Sorry. Yeah. But, like, that was fine. But Metal Gear is like old guard. It's standing there, and it's like, this is what we're doing for Metal Gear.
Yeah, like, I kind of got off track with where I was going, but most stealth games I play just for the stealth. Like, it's a stealth game, sure, I'll give it a shot. But Metal Gear, I'm not just playing it for the stealth. Playing it for the stealth, the action, the story, the characters.
Everything here is stuff I want. Everything. I'll listen to all the codec calls. Like, my first time through the game anyways. I'll listen to everything. Everything they want to throw at me, I'll go through.
Yeah.
Like, every time a boss comes up, I'm hyped. I'm all for it. I'm ready to go.
It's one of those games where it's like, you want to get as much information as you can about it, and it's information that'll kind of stick with you for the most part. So if you play it again, you're not going to have to re-listen to stuff to know what's going on. You're going to remember it.
It's kind of like, talking about like information that you want to know. It reminds me of BioShock. You know how you pick up the audio logs and stuff like that?
Yeah.
I really love the audio logs. A lot of people hate them. They're like, these are dumb fucking collectibles. Leave them on the ground. They're garbage. I love them. I think they are like invaluable in the world, and they add so much to all these characters that are in the game, and just the world building with those. And I think those are things that I will actively seek out, even if it's not for like whatever people look for achievements or whatever. I think everyone should play those games and look for that stuff. And I think Metal Gear is one of those things where you should play the game and just take everything it's giving you.
Which, speaking of the BioShock things, it makes me really excited for 5, because there's supposed to be the cassette tapes and everything that you can find.
Oh, yep.
I'm just really hoping that doesn't take away from character-on-character interactions through codecs and all that stuff, because I know in Peace Walker a big part was just tapes, listening to people and their little monologues, but I'm hoping it's more like a BioShock system where these people made these recordings that are there and you can find and listen to on the way. But there will still be all these calls and cutscenes and all that.
I think that the audio logs won't take precedent over the other stuff, but I am kind of worried about Kiefer Sutherland. Like, Hideo said that using Kiefer Sutherland's beautiful face, he won't have to talk as much, and I'm kind of worried about that too, that it'll, like, the audio logs will be the big thing. But it doesn't really worry me. In the Peace Walker, I listened to all of them, and I really liked a lot of the backstory you get on a lot of characters. And I think the audio logs, like you were saying about, or like we were saying in BioShock, add to the world. And I think that if they do that in 5, I'm gonna be really happy. But if they like segregate story into it, like specific story points into that, I'm gonna be really I guess it depends on how well it's done if I'm gonna be upset, but I'll be kind of disappointed if they put a lot of story into that, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Like, kind of, it won't be bad if the tape is mandatory to find, like, you can't miss it, but it's gonna, I know that he wanted to do a lot of kind of Easter egg hunting for these things.
Yeah.
Like, they'll be around, and you might miss them, you might not.
Like, in Ground Zeroes, you find the ones that are like music, and I thought that was kind of cool. It's like little Easter eggs, like you're saying.
Yeah, I guess I wouldn't mind. No, I'd hate it if it was done in like how it is in Ground Zeroes. Ground Zeroes makes sense because you can find these cassettes that have story on them, but it's the whole game is just this little field,
Okay.
like this little playground. But in Metal Gear Solid 5, it's not supposed to be like that necessarily.
Yeah, yeah. Anyways, we're talking about Metal Gear Solid 5 here. We're moving a little ahead of ourselves. We're moving, like, that's what we're building up to, so we'll get there when we're talking about Peace Walker. We're talking about Metal Gear 1 for now. I think it's time you think it's time we move on from that.
Yeah, I guess we don't have much.
Not really.
I don't think we have anything left to say really about it. So,
But yeah, I don't know. We're moving on from jerking off against Metal Gear. We're like, oh wow, Metal Gear. But I mean, this is our series about Metal Gear. We love Metal Gear, so there'll be some jerking off. We'll jerk each other off, jerk anyone who views this off.
yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the point of the videos. Is this is our favorite series. I mean, there's nothing like it. So
To us, anyways. Like, I mean, people could argue there's other stuff better than Metal Gear, but that's just an opinion. Like, this is our favorite stuff. Like, I love Metal Gear. I'll eat it up, baby. I don't say that.
The dumbasses, I don't know what they're talking about. Best game ever. Can't
Everyone's
be beat.
got their own brain. They think it their own way. Nobody's a dumbass. It's okay.
No, you're dumbasses.
But yeah, I don't know. We'll just keep doing what we're doing, and we'll release one every week. We'll decide on a day, and then a week later, we'll just talk about more Metal Gear. Next time, we're gonna be playing Metal Gear Solid 2. So if I don't know, anyone who watches can want to play through Metal Gear Solid 2, great game too. You can play through Metal Gear Solid 1, awesome game.
I feel like it'll definitely be the low point for me, but
Metal Gear Solid 2.
yeah.
I think it's still a great game. I think I appreciate it a lot more. But we're not talking about Metal Gear Solid 2 right now. That's just where we're going next. We'll talk about it next week. But yeah, any last things you want to say about Metal Gear Solid 1?
Oh man, what haven't we already said?
I said so much. It's been a whole hour. We said we're going to be a half hour right at the start. It's double that. So whatever. It's our fucking show. Back off. Anyways, this game sucks, so see you next week.
Don't stare at me like that.